जरा जरा बहकता महकता है आज तू मेरा तन बदन मैं प्यासी हूँ मुझे भर ले अपनी बाहों में है मेरी कसम तुझको सनम. A music family, like my great grandfather is Papanasam Shivan, who's one of the legendary composers in Carnatic music. So coming from that lineage, learning music was no big deal. It was a no-brainer. It just came to me naturally. And I've always been able to sing on pitch, sing on rhythm. I was musically gifted right from the beginning. And although my mother doesn't sing, but she's extremely knowledgeable, and I would wake up every day morning to music playing. So that was the normal thing in my house. And although my father doesn't have a background in music, he has a really melodious voice, and fortunately he loves music as well. So we're a family of people who love music, and we have so many professional musicians in the family in the Carnatic field, which is the classical music in India. But I didn't know that I would pursue a career in music. But I just had this dream of being able to sing in for films in India. And from the background that I do, I mean, tambram, so to say, like singing for films is considered taboo. Classical music is end all. But anything other than classical music was not even encouraged that well. But there's this one composer called A.R. Rahman. He's also a Grammy and an Academy Award winner. And his music just struck a chord with me right from the beginning. And I used to dream when I was in my 6th grade, my 7th grade. In fact, my mother and my friend's mother used to, joke amongst themselves, saying, if A.R. Rahman could actually put to tune our physics and chemistry books, they'll all be in my fingertips by now. Because I was fanatic about A.R. Rahman's music. When everybody used to be going out during lunch break and playing and things like that, I used to, do a little mini concert for those people who finished having lunch. That was a routine, right? So afternoon, right after lunch, concert by Preeti and Harini. That's how it was. So I used to listen to cassettes and write down the lyrics, and then go back and then write it down again. Actually write down lyrics while listening to songs. And I used to dream that while I was studying for my exams, suddenly my thoughts would go, what if? And I would actually start singing. And my thoughts would go, what if Rahman was actually walking by the road and he listens to me sing and he says, hey, why don't you come and sing for me? So that was a fantasy that I grew up with. It was not a wish, it was not a dream, it was not an ambition. It was a fantasy to be able to sing for movies in India. Zara zara behkta hai महकता है आज तू मेरा तन बदन मैं प्यासी हूँ मुझे भर ले अपनी बाहों में है मेरी कसम तुझको सनम दूर कहीं ना जा ये दूरी कहती है पास मेरी आ जा रे. This took 5 hours. So I was running out of breath, and but when I'm singing it, I mean, today, of course, I mean, I've done like 75 songs of professional playback myself for the who's who of composers in South India. And so obviously the performance that I'm delivering now is very different from what I sang back then. I was a good singer back then too, but it was just not professional, so to say. It was the moment you're looking at it from a professional ground, I mean, you're in the same field as a Lata Mangeshkar or everybody else, right? And that was my first validation of, man, it's taking me 5 hours to sing Zara Zara, that too a song that I have already learned. And I know that song, it's like in my blood. And if that is taking me 5 hours to sing, then maybe there's just so much more to learn before I can actually get there. But singing has been that constant source of strength and support and validation. I participated in every single music competition, solo, group. I learned instruments. I would direct. I took the lead in music, and I did that for 2 years. And in the 3rd year, I was obsessive compulsive about presentations and research and paper presentations. And again, I've participated nationally, internationally. when I had to do my first internship, I happened to chance upon an event management company, and like helped them organize a few events. So that was my first job, so to say, like learning on the job. I went on to again organize some international events for them. At every stage, whatever it is that I took up, having zero exposure, somehow opportunities presented themselves to me, or I went after it. I don't know, to the extent that I got to see like the best of it, like from zero rock bottom to like the best of it, right? And and I had the opportunity in a very short period of time to go through that entire gamut. Human resources was what I thought I was going to do for the rest of my life, and I thought I let me go ahead and do a master's in HR. By the time it was the end of second year, it was placement time, and there was TCS and all of these organizations that had come in for placements, and I sat till like the final round of job selection process, but I refused to go inside that room for that final interview, because that was the moment I made the decision. My parents had no clue though. They thought I'm going to come back with the job offer from there. But that day I said, no, I'm not going to do this, because taking up this job would mean I'm going to have to travel 2 hours to get to the office and 2 hours back home, and going to be there pretty much from 9 to 6, which means bye bye to the music that is already booming at this point of time for me from a career perspective. Fortunately, I was able to negotiate with this organization as well, that they would let me have some flexible timing so that I can prioritize my recording, but I will not compromise on my deliverables at work. So when I first met Antonio, I think I was interning with a particular organization, and Antonio had joined in as a CTO of the organization. There was just so much that people were telling me, this is young guy, his name is Antonio, he's just 24, and he's joined in as a CTO. He's like the guru of Web 3.0. And why is everybody talking so much about a 24-year-old? And I was 23 back then. And I heard had published 3 books. They were like internationally published books that are still available everywhere. And I went and asked, okay, so what's his qualification? Like what can he possibly have studied? And I heard engineering. I'm like, that's not much. I'm masters, and he's just an engineering student. And but what must be true if he's actually had 3 books published already, and that was from one of the top 2 publishers in technology books worldwide. So when I met him, there was something very charismatic about him. There was something very bright about him, like a halo of wisdom. That's the first thing that struck me. And so I invited him to one of my concerts, and I had fun with my band. I was having so much fun, and with my band I would sort of put in my own seasoning to the songs that I've sung, as well as the classics, and we gave it our own little treatment. A concert that brings out my specialities from a vocal perspective, what I can do with my voice, as well as like variety of different genres and a unique sound and fun and all of that put together, and I had a ball on stage. But Antonio noticed that I carried this lyric stand with me everywhere I went. Okay, and in that concert as well, I had that planted right in the center of the stage. So he watched me like have fun and interact with the audience and having a good time. But so I would keep coming back to the lyrics book just to like sort of look. And then he looked at me at the end of the concert. He came and said, "Okay, that was a great performance. You were having such a good time, and just look at the audience. They're crazy. They love you." I said, "Yeah. I mean, that's my life. I love doing what I do on stage." And that's when he said, "But why do you keep that lyrics book? Like, do you not know the lyrics to these songs? I'm sure you perform these songs often, right?" And I said, "Yes, I do. But most of the time I'm performing like the latest songs that are like the sensation at that point in time, in addition to some classics in my own. So I don't remember lyrics, and I'm just scared. What if I forget?" And then he looked at me that day and he said, "What if I can help you remember these lyrics, such that you don't need to come back to the center of the stage? You're already like 100% with regard to your performance and your interaction and your chemistry with the band. What if you can take that to like 200%, where your attention doesn't have to be on, oh, I have to go back and check what's the next set of lyrics again?" He said, "What if you can actually remember it? You don't, like, you have this exceptional ability to just memorize lyrics so quickly and such that you remember and you don't forget it." I said, "That'll be awesome." So I took that offer and I sat with him that day for like about 45 minutes. I mean, I don't know, I was just doing everything that he was asking me to do. And he said, "Okay, we're done." So he did some things, I don't even remember what he did. So I didn't know when I was supposed to expect results of whatever it is that he did. Reasonably, I was expecting that maybe the next time I sing or learn a bunch of new songs now, the next time it's gonna maybe I'll remember them better. That is what I thought. But that evening I was still backstage, and it was time for me to go up on stage. They called out my name, and I literally forgot that lyric stand backstage, and I turned up. And when I planted myself in the center of stage, and then I had a quick moment of panic, thinking, oh my god, my lyrics book is not here. These are new songs. What am I going to do? It was almost accidental, but when if you ask Antino, he will say that was not accidental. That was a very careful and elegant choice made by a subconscious mind, is what he would say, right? But something just took over that moment. I don't know what. From where I got that confidence, I was sort of blank in my head, but the words just flowed. Like I sang that entire song, the first song fully, and I didn't forget a single word. Like it just happened like as if I've known that song all my life. And that happened for the first song and the second song and the third song and the fourth song. And I was thinking, what is happening, right? Like at that moment, I didn't realize. I just knew that I was just singing it. I didn't have the lyrics book in front of me, and it was too good to be true. At the same time, I think I was in a completely different zone in my head that day. It was just I don't know. It was like a high like I've never experienced on stage, and by the end of the concert, it was when it actually hit me that I hadn't taken that lyrics book there, and I managed to remember every single word. So initially, although there was that moment of panic, thinking my lyrics book is not there, I was surprised at my own self as to how that panic just vanished when I just heard the music and I just started to sing and the words were flowing. So midway through the song, I realized that I'm actually singing it right, and I had no idea how, what, but it was actually flowing. Because sometimes when you make a mistake, even though you don't have the lyrics book in front of you, you sort of know, right? But this time I was just having the kinesthetic feeling of it's correct, it's happening, it was just flowing, and I had no reason or answer as to how or why, but I just remembered. Just like you remember other things, like you don't forget how to sing the national anthem, right? You don't forget how to sing happy birthday to you. So this was also just flowing, and I continuously had that feeling of it's right. So I didn't mumble or like sort of forget any word in the song. I didn't sing any word wrong, and it was just fascinating for me. And Antino was sitting right there in the performance. At the end of the concert, when he came up to meet me, and I looked at him and I had that moment of surprise, and I said, "Can you believe I didn't use the lyrics book? I did take it." And then he just looked at me and he gave me this really nice, gleeful smile, like as if he was expecting it anyway. But that's not what he told me to do. So he didn't give me a set of instructions the previous day saying, next day don't take your lyrics book and go. None of it. He just did what he did and said, just go ahead and be surprised. That's all he said. And I actually did surprise myself that day. And I looked at him and I said, now what? Right? And then he looked at me and he said, this is just the beginning. He said, like 3 to 6 months from now, just notice what happens to you. Um, and he said, it's going to be like how a butterfly just suddenly realizes it has wings and it can fly. Those were just nice words. I thought he was just encouraging me and motivating me and all that. But it was only after like 6 months or a year when I took a look back at my life over that year. I was overwhelmed by how many things changed for me after that. I found myself having this new sense of confidence because it was not just this one concert, but I had so many concerts after that, and every one of them went off even better than the previous. I was so much more confident. It's suddenly like, those you all along you thought you needed a crutch, but then suddenly you realize you don't need a crutch. And then you realize you can walk and run and do whatever it is that you have to. That was the feeling that I had. Somehow, when you have this new sense of confidence, it shows up in your performance. It was contagious the way I was performing and the response, and then the event organizers would only be too happy, and then they would sign me up for a few more gigs. And surprisingly, the same thing happened even at recording. This was again a moment of surprise where, like I was called by one of the very famous composers to sing a song like after a really long time, and midway through the recording he paused and he said, Megha, you started to sing really fast. There's like more feel in your voice. Like you finished the song already. Like there's so much that we finished already, and earlier you used to take such a long time. And a couple of other composers also told me the same thing. When the composers were commenting that I was taking shorter time to sing the same song, what they're referring to is also there are songs sometimes which are simpler to sing. There are some songs which are more complex. There were certain kind of songs that I used to sing earlier, like even the simpler songs would take me like 4 5 hours, um, and then it came down to like 3 hours. But now it came down to like 45 minutes or like 1 hour. So that was my first validation of, well, somebody else of authority is telling me that there's a shift in me. That's when it struck me that there are so many people, like even today when I meet people who are very good at what they do, right? To get from where they are to that next level, especially the more and more and more you accomplish in your life, to get to that next level can sometimes be very difficult because you don't know what to do. Like I was in a point where I wouldn't say I hit a plateau or something. I was doing very well, but to actually have that next level of vocal breakthrough is the greatest satisfaction for an artist. And I experienced that in 2 months, and I don't know how that happened. Right? The only thing that I can think of was that one particular session that I had with Antino. And that was also not even to do with my singing, that was to remember lyrics, right? Not even just remember lyrics, the ability to learn lyrics fast. So it was not like he gave me a set of steps saying this is how you learn lyrics the next time. I just that the next time I was learning lyrics, it it happened more spontaneously and I would remember, and I still don't know how. So I don't follow a technique even now to remember. That was my moment of magic that happened in recordings, and that opened up a whole set of different opportunities, because then these same composers started to give me different kind of songs, the kind of songs that I was not used to singing. They started to experiment with me, because it's joyful for a composer when they see that there is a singer that is quickly understanding what their vision is and is executing it really really well and bringing in their own. And when this is happening in compressed time, it's joyful for a composer to work with a singer like that. So I became a regular to more such top composers, right? So they were calling me for more songs. They were even calling me for the initial composing sessions. So I was part of the entire creation of the song, and these were opportunities that I didn't have before. And this has nothing to do with lyrics. This is just a consequence of who I had become and what it had opened up for me, like what it allowed me to do in my recordings. It made a difference to my confidence. It made a difference in terms of actually being able to deliver faster. And then it becomes an infectious loop, right? You're delivering faster, the composer is excited, and then he's excited, so you're excited even more, and then like you're having a good time, you're learning, listening to more songs. And so suddenly I was in this loop of high performance when it came to recordings and all of that. And I can't imagine how it can just be restricted to this, right? I was also working, and when so much was happening here, I realized that I was actually doing as much even when I was at work, right? Suddenly I saw people at work look at me differently. I started to get more responsibilities at work, but I was not stressed out about it. I was able to handle that faster. I started out by doing assessments and behavioral assessments and stuff like that, and within that period of that 1 year, right, I took up testing, which is a completely IT related thing, and I had like a zero IT background, but I learned that quickly. And I started out as a basic tester, and I went on to eventually head a team there of testing for some really complicated deliverables that they had for a lot of their clients. And then I did a little bit of client interfacing, and eventually went on to doing some high-end consultative sales for corporate as well as K-12 in the organization. And all of this happened within like 12 months, and I didn't realize things were happening so fast. So I was managing time really well. I was getting better and better songs. My songs were becoming better hits. I had more gigs, and I was doing well at work. And to me, when I look back, I was just fascinated by how things happened so fast. So it was like the domino effect where something started and then it just triggered a whole sort of amazing things for me. Now, I mean, when I'm reflecting on this journey of mine, I realized that that little intervention that Antonio had done for me actually resulted in me going in the direction of achieving incredible things, and all this happened within 1 year. And now, when I look back, I have a completely different meaning to the term legacy.